Test, test. We're good. We're going to call to order the City Council meeting for Monday, December 4th, 2023. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Amanda, roll call, please.
Tim Peter.
Here.
Donnie Shimalunas. Here. Scott Steckmeister.
Here.
Adam Mahusky.
Here.
Jeff Delkey.
Here.
Tracy Coach. Here. Bill Leclerc.
Here.
Darla Leclerc.
Here, and I don't think our mics are on.
Yep, yours is
Are
on.
they?
It's red.
It wasn't just a second ago.
Oh.
Nothing was happening.
Now it's staying red. You can't get it back off. We can skip over number 4 because everyone is present. So we're going to move on to number 5, which is a set of public hearings. Under A, we have rezone annex property 2423 Sandy Bay Road, Two Rivers to residential R1. Recommended action is a motion to approve annexation as recommended by the Plan Commission. We'll take some background from Greg before we open up the public hearing. Greg.
Council recently approved this annexation, and city attorney can correct me if I'm wrong, but when properties are annexed in, the default zoning pending final council action is R1 single family residential. That is the land use in this case, and this item is on your agenda tonight now based on the application of the property owner for R1 single family zoning. So again, as the chair noted, this is here also with the recommendation for approval from Plan Commission.
All right, we will open up the public hearing. We will make 3 calls. Anyone wishing to speak solely on this topic, please step up to the podium, my right and your left. State your name and address for the record. Opening up call number 1. Closing call 1 and opening up call number 2. Closing call 2 and opening up the 3rd and final call of this public hearing. All right, we will close the public hearing and bring it back to council. Looking for a motion to approve this annexation as recommended by the Plan Commission. Anyone wish to offer that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Scott. Seconded by Jeff. Council discussion. See none. Roll call vote. Amanda.
Donnie Shimalunas.
Aye.
Scott Steckmeister.
Aye.
Adam Mahusky.
Aye.
Jeff Delkey.
Aye.
Tracy Coach.
Aye.
Bill Leclerc. Darla Leclerc.
Aye.
Tim Petrie.
All right, motion carries. On to our second public hearing. It is an ordinance to amend the municipal code, section 10-4-13, signs not requiring a permit, subsection M5, real estate signs pertaining to open house event signs and to state conditions related to placement of such signs. Recommended action is a motion to waive reading and approve the ordinance as recommended by the Plan Commission. Greg.
This matter came first to the Plan Commission as a request from some of our local realtors who noted that even though so much now, you find online and you find your way to open houses that way, maybe Surrey or some sort of digital guidance get you there. The fact that temporary open house signs are still important. So this ordinance increases the number that are allowed up to 8 per open house event with the provision, which is consistent with the earlier ordinance requirement, that they be placed only on the day of the open house or to be removed immediately after the open house and to be on private property with the permission of the private property owner where they're placed. So the upshot of this is that it increases the number to 8 per open house, but still with some pretty tight guidelines. Get them up the day of, down immediately after the event, and with permission of the private property owners. They're not to be on the terraces or within the right of way. But again, I characterize it as being responsive to a request from local business, and it is recommended by the Plan Commission.
All right. Once again, this is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to solely speak on this topic, please step up to the podium, my right, your left. State your name and address for the record, and we will have 3 calls. Opening up call number 1 of the public hearing. Closing call 1 and opening up call number 2. Closing call 2 and opening up the 3rd and final call of the public hearing. All right, the public hearing is now closed. Bringing it back to council, anyone wishing to recommend a motion?
Oh,
Thank you, Tracy. Seconded by Darla. Council discussion. See none. Roll call vote. Amanda.
Scott Steckmeister,
Aye.
Adam Mahusky,
Aye.
Jeff Delkey, Tracy Coach, Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
Darla Leclerc,
aye.
Tim Petrie, Bonnie Shimonius.
All right, motion carries on that. Thank you very much. Moving on to number 6, which is input from the public. Anyone wishing to address the council on something that's on this agenda or something they'd like to see on a future agenda, please step up to the podium, my right, your left, and state your name and address for the record. Input from the public. All right. We're going to move on to number 7 then, council communications. Any council members have letters or other communications from citizens they would like to share at this time? Nobody.
Have a whole host.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, well, go ahead and share.
Right.
Fire away.
All right, the biggest one I got a good dozen complaints about it, was the last snowfall. Nothing was plowed on any of the off streets, not even intersections, and everybody had to deal with that crap for almost a whole week. Everything was glare ice. So I went around and looked, took a drive myself. The schools were all pretty good except for Koenig, and 2 of the 4 streets around there were plowed, but one of them where the parents exit as they're picking up kids, that one wasn't touched. And then I took a ride down to Columbus and 10th, and I watched a kid get off the bus and fall down and almost slid underneath the bus. Thank God the bus driver was paying attention. The senior center, I got some complaints about that too, and that one was marginal at best. And the sidewalks are ice covered and slippery too. Now, granted, that only happened for a couple of days, but we still need to do a little better job on that. Oh, and the senior center. And I know everybody is going to come up that, well, we don't really have the money to take care of all of those. And somebody said, well, there's $125,000 not needed job that's on the agenda to be put into play. Take that money and put it on a snowy day fund. So there was a couple people involved in that conversation. Just none of the intersections were taken care of. And then another one said that, as tax-paying citizens, they have their streets should be plowed because they're paying taxes for that to be done. And I get that. And they said, if the city isn't plowing the streets, why should we have to take care of our sidewalk? And they did have a point for that. If the city's not there, why should they have to do it? Because you never know if the city's coming, and after it's all ice covered and slippery, well, so is their sidewalk. So that was another part of it. And then now I'm on to a different one. Then the ice skating rental thing was brought up again, and wondering when we're going to be, if they're going to do it more often and every weekend.
And I assume you have noted, or the people that are in touch with you have noted, because there's been Facebook posts that we now are renting from noon to 7 p.m. on Saturdays and noon to 5 on Sundays. That's probably going to be the extent, because like Sunday, they did cut it off at 3, but it was one lonely pair of attendants there because of the weather.
Well, one person did say that it would be nice to have on Friday nights too, but it's hard to say.
There's a lot, and not to be rude, but there's a lot of great ideas out there. Like send the one kid who's watching the building out to rent skates. Ain't gonna happen. Get volunteers. Anyway, yes. But I think Park and Rec has responded to that, and both days on the weekends, and there's a pretty full schedule around the holidays as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there was another one. Somebody wants to know if that ice skating rink is going to be put back in place in Washington Park so that kids can actually play hockey there, because you can't really play it on the rink.
That is not the plan for this winter. Nope. Again, council can direct otherwise if it wants to get into that. The advisory rec board could weigh in. But, this past Saturday, the rink would have been liquid. And that's part of the reason and you can't play hockey down here, right?
Right. That's what they were saying. And, we can't play hockey there.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand that. And then another person asked about the city slogan, whatever happened to the True to Two? Did we give up on that? Because everything now seems to be back to Cool City.
No, haven't given up on that, but Cool City is creeping into things. Cool City certainly predates that, but True to Two is one of the statements associated with the motto, with the logo, excuse me. That's,
Okay.
I don't know what to say.
And here's another one. I don't know who this one's gonna be able to cover this one. Now, somebody had told me that in Door County, you need to live in your home for 6 months a year, and it has to be 6 months every year to make your house available to be an Airbnb. Do we have anything like that here?
I'm assuming the regulation would be municipality by municipality in Door County, so I'd expect there might be a variety there. No, we don't have that requirement. You could not live there at all. You could live there, a few weeks. Presently, the ordinance doesn't require the owner of the property to reside there for any period.
The person I talked to said they do that there because it limits the number of Airbnbs so that you don't have an entire city full of Airbnbs.
Yeah. I dare say that's probably a pretty big danger in some of the Door County communities.
Yeah.
That is not presently a requirement of our ordinance.
And I went for breakfast one morning at the local restaurant here, and somebody came up to me, and there was actually 3 people that came up to me and talked to me about this one. Was there ever a community impact study done pertaining to the West River Loft Apartments? Can Koenig handle a bunch more kids coming in that would be potentially happening there?
Was not a community impact study done. I can't address Koenig's ability to absorb more enrollment. I assume, I won't speak for the school district. We have 2 public elementaries, and sometimes boundaries change if one area picks up more kids. But
Because they were concerned that if the school can't handle it, we have that coming in there, that the study should have been done, and had it not been done, somebody actually dropped the ball on that, and it should have been something that was looked into, because there could potentially be, how many apartments are going to be going in there?
54 total, and a good
Yes,
number
and-
are 3 and 4 bedroom.
Right, you could
Yeah.
potentially have 50, 75 kids going to additional to Koenig, which in 4 classes, is it big enough to handle that? So that was one of the things I was worried about there. Ben, I'm sorry I didn't get to talk to you this one about you beforehand. We were stuck in another meeting too long. Speeding on Adams Street. It's like in the 31 to 3,000 to 3,100 block, somewhere through there. I think that somebody had talked to you, but I told you that I would reach out and let everybody know. And this one, I don't know, this one I go to you too, Ben, and I didn't get to talk to you about it. 2 business owners, they reached out to me and said that there were 2 business owners from town. This was for the last wine walk. They were walking around with completely full cups of, I don't know whether it was beer or wine. And when they walked into the one business, they're only allowed just a small amount that they're supposed to pour. Well, then everybody there wanted that large amount, and they said, well, we can't do that. And then they walked up to the couple and said, well, why are you only walking around with a full one? And they said, we can do whatever we want. This doesn't pertain to us. So I don't know, is there a limit on how much they can spend or pour and be walking around town? Or weren't they supposed to be walking around, period?
I think the chief will have a clear answer to that one for you.
Yeah,
Yep.
again, Ben, I apologize. I didn't get in and talk to you.
I'm not trying to be rude, but at this point, this is quite a ways outside of that, which it would have been nice to address it earlier. However, I will say that in addition, I've recently talked to some other, I would say bar owners, for lack of a better, and they also asked me to look into that because they were a little disgruntled that maybe there was a different understanding from other business owners because they don't typically serve beverages. So they weren't aware of regulations on allowing people to leave with beverages where they were held to a different standard. So yeah, I think that's definitely something to talk to maybe Jason Ring about.
Okay. I think that's it. I think I forgot a couple, but I'll get back to them.
Yeah, if I could, not to make excuses, but on the first snowstorm of the season, what was that, Thanksgiving weekend, Sunday, I believe. Well, to make excuses to some extent, both of our public works trucks that typically have sanders on them were still equipped for leaf pickup duty. The salt routes, and I think you acknowledge that the salt routes were great. The side streets didn't get attention. We could have done a better job. I'll grant that as far as the plowing. But generally speaking, people are going to see the salt routes bare before they see the side streets. So everything in moderation there. But we acknowledge, I think we could have done a better job on that first storm. At the same time, I'd remind all of you, while I never would be critical of your, as council members, reporting on this at a council meeting, if you want timely results, like somebody not falling under a bus or not falling on their butt in the senior center parking lot, by all means, you know who the department heads are, you know where the city manager's office is. By all means, feel free to reach out on any of those. Feel free to report on it afterwards, but we can't do much about a Slippery Senior Center parking lot. And maybe that was conveyed 2 weeks after the fact, a week after. So just please.
On the intersections, what they were mostly, and this is what most of the conversations that people had, is that, they understand that the street's not going to get done all the time.
Yep.
But that first and last 50 feet, 75 feet on coming into an intersection,
That's pretty important.
yeah.
Yep.
And well, even my street didn't get done this time either, and it was bad.
Tim,
Do you know when they're gonna fill the sand and salt box?
Do you want to come forward to the mic, Matt? Sorry. Feel free to share anything else on.
I was gonna
Southpaw you
sand the
wanted.
corner by my intersection because it was terrible, and I went there with some pails and I went, box is empty. Shit.
Glad you brought that up. That was one of my other ones I forgot.
The sand and salt boxes went out late last week.
Oh, no, I meant the one right down by the plant.
By the plant, it should be out.
It's there, but it's
Um,
empty. I went there to go get some to put on in front of, by my intersection, and
Early in the week, it was probably empty, and it was probably filled Thursday, Friday of last week. And as far as expounding upon the lack of response, as Greg had mentioned, the trucks that we usually utilize for sanding and plowing were still in leaf collection mode. Primarily, the forecast was basically 1 inch of the snow, so we basically said we weren't gonna transition out of leaf collection mode into snow plowing mode because we still had a week's worth of leaf cleanup. And so by the time we reacted, it was midweek before we made transitions over to having some of the trucks unavailable, or trucks transitioned out of leaf collection mode into winter mode. So those trucks are now available for a more appropriate response. So we acknowledge we missed the ball a great deal on a week and a half ago's snow. So we look forward to doing a much better job in the future.
There was one more thing that somebody had brought up. On those smaller snowfalls like that, how many vehicles do we actually have plows on? I know other departments probably have them, not just Public Works.
I believe we have enough for 8 plow routes.
Okay.
And then we utilize other pieces of equipment, front end loaders, graders, Jeeps, pickup trucks, things of that nature. So this past weekend, we utilized our new brine sprayer on Friday to pre-treat our salt routes. Where I live out in the country, we did get 2+ inches of snow. In town here, we got basically nothing. So don't know if it was because we brined or we just got lucky because of where we're located. So I'm hoping it was the first.
Because somebody had brought it up, then even though they're not necessarily for Public Works, but at times when we have the snowfalls, can we get all the pickup trucks out there? Even if they're just pickup trucks? Because I know when I do my street, down and back is done. So, if we can get some of the other departments to help out.
You haven't hit any mailboxes lately, have you? You haven't hit any mailboxes lately?
Nope.
Okay.
And we do occasionally coordinate with Park and Rec and try and utilize their pieces of equipment as well.
Okay, I'll pass that back on.
Unless it's pretty desperate, you're probably not going to see a pickup truck coming down your street because we should have enough vehicles with a full response. But they're out there. They're cleaning around the public buildings. They're cleaning the parking lots. And yeah, it was early in the season. Expect better, demand better. You're going to see better, just like you always have.
anybody else? Scott?
Just real quick, they're still picking up leaves this week yet, right? Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I got several complaints on the snow removal, and I'm bringing it up because I was confronted Saturday night for a very disgruntled person that wanted to make sure that I did mention it. So I'm doing my due diligence. I am mentioning it, and I think they've heard it loud and clear. So on with that, on to number 8, council reports from boards, commissions, and committees. Anyone have anything they'd like to report on? Darla.
For the Environmental Advisory Board, there's ongoing issues that we've been working on. One of the things I wanted to mention is as far as Shay Sortwell and Andre Jacques' bill that they've put forth for the Wisconsin Vegetable Garden Protection Act. It has passed out of the Assembly Committee on a bipartisan vote and is awaiting a vote on the floor. That cannot happen until mid-January. It is yet to get a hearing in the Senate, but right now there's still about a dozen co-sponsors, so that's going forward. The biggest thing for EAB right now is the educational series. And our next one is going to be on January 4th, Invasive Species, both flora and fauna. And that is going to be a presentation by Jim Nickelbein, who is the director for a little while at least, out at Woodland Dunes. Other things that are coming, and we will have one a month through May 7th, which is going to be a recycling talk by John Reisenbichler from Manitowoc County Recycling. And because there's been some changes since we first got to know and love our recycling program. So people might want to go out to that. As far as Main Street, first of all, I don't know, I hope everybody had a chance to get out and take a look at all of the different entries into the parade. And just wanted to say that they were being judged for 3 different things. One was the best marching band, best use of lights, and judge's choice. And it was Manitowoc Lutheran High Marching Lancers who got the best marching band. Best use of lights for their float was Crescent Woolen Mills. And they were so bright, I'm surprised that people could even see anything around them. So they went all out. And then judge's choice was Fatso's Sub and Pizza Shop. So congratulations to them.
Nice job. It's a great parade, by the way, too.
Oh,
Main
yeah.
Street did an excellent job on getting that together and getting the lights up, all the downtown businesses, getting their lights in the
Oh, yeah.
windows, and very festive downtown. It looked absolutely amazing.
You made a really good elf too. So.
Yeah. Yeah, how did we not win? How did the city
I don't
council truck
know.
not win?
I did recant to the judges, but
It didn't work.
Didn't give them the right
I didn't give them
the
enough.
right bribe. And then also, with the help of WPPI and our electric department, there were 90 strings of lights that were handed out to Main Street businesses to kind of kickstart their decorating. So I want to say thank you to WPPI and the electric department. And then also, I wanted to just comment, we've got Cool City Christmas coming up on the 16th. The 6th.
Correct. Yes. Week from
2
next Saturday.
Saturdays from now.
Yep.
Okay. And just want to remind people that when they're downtown for the festivities, make sure you stop in and go into our local businesses, and so we can continue to support them, especially at Christmas time. That's a good time to be a really, really good customer. So just keep that in mind. And then the last thing too is that right now, there's going to be a trophy and a prize for a downtown business getting the most votes as to people's choice as the best decorated. And so far, Main Street's already logged over 400 votes. And that's going to continue on. So if you're down,
Where do we vote?
it's a Survey Monkey address, which is kind of long and clunky, but if you want information, you could always email director@tworiversmainstreet.com or give them a call and they'll be able to get you over there. So yeah, I'm not gonna spell it out right now because it's a vegetable soup. So, but anyway, so I mean, support draw more attention to our local businesses, go out there and see see whose business is decorated the way you really, really like it and go out and vote. And I mean, if we've already got 400 votes, that's really good. So we have a little bit more time, but I think it's supposed to be a really, really cool trophy.
Good, good.
So, all right, that's all I've got.
Thank you. Anybody else? Bill?
Yeah, at the Committee on Aging meeting this morning, Wendy from the County Health Systems was telling us, reporting that in 2024, January, that Medicare will be paying for counseling. And then before they didn't pay for that, psychiatric counseling for mental health awareness. So that's something new. Give Wendy Hutter and her group at Senior Center a attaboy for serving 104 people at Thanksgiving Day dinner, and everybody was fed. Other things, a couple other things that are going on. The Senior Center is going to be closed. I'm not sure. There's a couple of days around Christmas and New Year's, so check the website and find out what days that are going to be closed.
All right, thank you, Bill. Anybody else? All right, Greg, you're up. City Manager's report.
Okay, I'm pleased to report that we have some special guests tonight here from the Alano Society of Manitowoc. Back on November 11, Mayor Nichols and I, among with a lot of other folks, had the chance to attend a kickoff meeting for a fund drive for a new, I believe the term is Alano House, to serve all of the community. This is home base for Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous and other support groups, which the representatives can speak to at greater length. And they're in a building that's a proud, historic 75-year-old structure, but is nowhere near being handicap accessible or accommodating childcare needs and other things consistent with their mission. So, but without further ado, I'd like to invite Del Nason and whoever else from our group of guests that might be speaking to fill you in. And you do have a flyer on the Alano Society in front of you. Welcome, Del.
Welcome. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Del Nason, and I'm the president of the Alano Society of Manitowoc. The Alano Society of Manitowoc's mission is to provide a safe, secure, and positive environment for persons seeking recovery. The Alano Society is a 501c3 nonprofit organization and has been a beacon of hope and transformation for people seeking recovery and struggling with addiction for the last 75 years. 75 years ago, the founders of the Alano Society broke ground and the cornerstone was laid in 1949. The existing building, however, has hindered our ability to fulfill our mission. It is housed in a 75-year-old structure and is far from being accessible to all of our community. The building lacks ADA compliance, making it very difficult for those with handicap and physical challenges to fully participate in our meetings and our programs. Additionally, the plumbing in the building is beyond repair. It has numerous problems and needs continuous maintenance. In today's society, we need to do better. We firmly believe that everyone should have the opportunity to attend our meetings, receive the support they need, and build connections with others on their path to recovery. That's why we're launching a campaign to raise funds for a new accessible meeting space. The Alano Society has, for the last 75 years, always operated on a completely volunteer basis with no paid staff. As much as we love our building and the recovery stories told within those walls, the time has come when we need to make a change to meet the needs of our recovery community. We solicited a quote to have the current building upgraded to meet ADA compliance, and it would have cost us close to $900,000. And that was just for an elevator to get us to and from our floors, new men's and women's room, and a new entrance. For 1.5 million, we can have a new state-of-the-art building with several large meeting rooms, which will allow us to continue to serve the recovery community for another 75 to 100 years. Additionally, the building will have several smaller breakout rooms, as well as a child care area and a modern kitchen to accommodate our Sunday morning breakfast meetings. If you could be our advocates, this will make a tremendous difference in the lives of countless individuals who are yearning for a chance at recovery. By coming together on this project, we can provide a renewed sense of belonging and support to those who need it most. Manitowoc is the model of recovery for the state of Rhode Island. The Alano Society has been a symbol of strength and support for those seeking addiction. Together, we can take this a step further by ensuring that our community is fully accessible to all who need help. The Alano Society of Manitowoc and the individuals we serve need your support to build a more inclusive, welcoming, and accessible meeting space. Please look at the brochures that we've handed out for the many ways that you can help support us on this endeavor. We can provide a renewed sense of belonging and support to those who need it most. In closing, I want to thank you for your unwavering commitment to our shared mission of recovery and support, and for the invite from Greg, who attended our meeting. Together, we can make a difference in the lives of those who need it soon, right? So I want to thank you for your time and for being an integral part of our journey towards a better tomorrow.
Thank you, Del.
Thank you very much.
I got to say, I'm sure there's not one of us in this room whose life hasn't been touched by friends or family members with dependency issues. And some of the testimonials that were freely offered by folks at that gathering on the 11th really underscored the good, not only that this physical facility does, but the way that it enables the fellowship and mutual support of folks in the recovery community. And we have a lot of needs here. Man, we hear so much about how those needs aren't being met. Here's a case where they are being met, and working together as a community, because truly this facility serves all of Manitowoc County, we can make a difference. So we'll share this information on city social media and direct folks, because there are a lot of, even though the name Manitowoc's hung on it, it's truly countywide. And there are a lot of great people here in Two Rivers that have benefited from and can tell the story of all the good that's been done in that 75-year-old building that can be so much better. So we thank you and applaud your efforts. Thanks. And you can leave. It's a fascinating rest of the agenda, but no one will be offended if you head out. Del asked beforehand. I said, "Yep, you're okay. You're okay." But again, you're welcome to stay as well. All righty. Any questions, council? Otherwise, I will go up to my city manager's report.
I do have a really quick question. Do you guys have any plans to have fundraisers that we could help promote?
We are trying to have.
Del, if you would step up to the mic, then all the good folks at home can hear you.
I'm sorry.
That's
We are having some small fundraisers at our club. We are planning on having other fundraisers, and as we do plan those, I'd be more than welcome to share those times and places with you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. My report for tonight, I'll keep her moving on the personnel front, because we rely on good people to provide all of our city services. Would remind you that with the applications have closed. We're presently scheduling interviews for the position of tourism director. Elizabeth and I set up a meeting and actually did have 2 members of the Room Tax Commission and 3 members of the Room Tax Commission. So we posted it, so we were legal, and 2 members of the Explore Two Rivers Board in attendance for the preliminary screening of the applications. And we've identified 6 candidates who are being invited for interviews. The deadline for apprentice line worker applications, help me out, Amanda, I think that was extended and now is December 29. So we're still reaching out for entry-level line worker position to fill a vacancy caused by a retirement. And the Parks and Rec office manager position, Tammy Stadler retiring after about 26, 27 years of great service to the city. That position, retitled Park and Rec office manager, is out for applications with a deadline of Friday, December 15 for those applications. Picking up on Darla's point, a few pictures that still don't do justice fully to just how great the hometown Christmas parade of lights was back on Thanksgiving weekend. Again, kudos to Two Rivers Main Street as the organizing entity. Kudos to all of our city departments, because there's a whole lot of staff support that goes into that, from barricading streets to the efforts of the PD and fire, EMS to assure responsibility, and some pretty cool units in the parades, not to mention council members Wing and Candy into the crowd. And thank you to Main Street and the downtown merchants for making our downtown look great. I'm not going to read all of this next one. It sounds bureaucratic, but just a reminder, and I think it's going out in the utility bills. Yes, there is that requirement for clearing snow and ice from sidewalks within 24 hours after a precipitation event. If that doesn't happen, the city can cause it to be removed and bill the property owner for the cost. And the second and any subsequent violations, not clearing the sidewalk at a property within a given winter season, which our ordinance defines as November 1 through April 30, can result in not only a billing for snow and ice removal, but a fine of $150 plus court costs. And like a lot of things, the city's motive there isn't to make one red cent on it, it's to get voluntary compliance, because Two Rivers is a very walkable community and we like to keep it that way. Another reminder too, and this comes up every year, blowing or depositing snow or ice in the street is against the law. We've all seen people with their snow blowers and that lovely arc of snow going right out into the street before the plows come by, or maybe after. And that also, there's also a prohibition in the ordinance on depositing your snow on the property of others without their permission. Just be a good neighbor and just don't, blast it up against your neighbor's house. So by all means, if you have any concerns about uncleared sidewalks, get in touch with Public Works or the city manager's office and we can get somebody out there to tackle it. Just another plug to shop local. During the holiday season, you got a nice variety of businesses in downtown Two Rivers, so many of whom sign up for sponsorship of special events and roll their sleeves up to make things happen in the community. You don't get that from Amazon. So do what you can to support those local businesses so their lights are burning not only the Christmas season, but year round downtown. Would remind folks that 2024 election is not all that far away, and the city clerk, Amanda, is more than happy to assist candidates who wish to come in and get their nomination papers to circulate if you wish to serve on council for the 2024 spring election. The council seats that are up in April of this year are those currently occupied by Councilmember Coach and Councilmember Dalkey, and then there is the one vacant position that's been vacant since Jason Ring resigned from council. Those nomination papers must be filed by 5 p.m. on Tuesday, January 2. And yes, we will keep the city clerk here till at least 5 o'clock on that night so folks can file. I believe there are 2 sets of petitions out in circulation now, or 3. Okay, thank you, Amanda. And those folks can tell you who they are if they haven't already. Winter parking ban, by city ordinance, the ban on overnight parking on city streets from 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. starts December 1, runs to March 15. But again, in light of current weather and street conditions, we are suspending enforcement of the ban until there's a snow event that requires plowing. Folks need to know that enforcement will resume as soon as that happens, and watch the City Hall and Police Department Facebook pages as well as the city website for updates on that. Last year, out of 105 days by the ordinance parking ban, there were 12 days when the ban was enforced. And I know we've had complaints about the ban and it's kind of ironclad enforcement in past years. I think that you've seen with the cooperation of police, Public Works, and my office, we've been a lot more flexible. I guess I would argue the nice thing is though, the backstop still is, if it snows, there's still a parking ban. And frankly, people have been very good about it. So we hope to keep that. With a little El Nino behind us, maybe we'll fall below 12 this year. You may have heard there are giant snowflakes over at the library. No, there are giant snowflakes at the library. And that is a workshop on Friday, this coming Friday, December 8th at 1:30, ages 18 plus. And you can use zip ties to morph plastic hangers into giant snowflakes. Sounds like a lot of fun. Sign up in advance. There's a phone number there. Call Lester Library or stop by for registration. Picking up on some comments earlier, of course, the Central Park ice skating loop is open daily from 6 to 11. If you bring your own skates, you can skate anytime during those hours. Restrooms are open daily from 9 to 6. If you want to rent skates, the hours have been expanded now. So the rentals are running from 12 noon to 7 p.m. on Saturdays, noon to 5 p.m. on Sunday. And around the holidays, I know there's some extra hours, like on Tuesday, the 26th of December, and both Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, there are skate rentals. So trying to do this, it's a new endeavor, going to be some bugs to work out. I think we'll learn maybe when the ebbs and flows are. It's going to be weather dependent, but I saw some people out there skating earlier tonight on their own. Obviously, they didn't rent, but get out and enjoy it. It's and again, thank you to Two Rivers Rotary, which provided the naming gift with $65,000 for that, the last element of the park project to come in. Last element, except for straightening out those picnic tables and wrapping the sidewalk all the way around the building. John, got that one in for the council president. I beat you to it, Adam. There's a holiday ink and drink a week from this Friday, December 15, over at the Hamilton Wood Type and Printing Museum. And you can create one-of-a-kind posters with vintage type. Must be 21 or older, $45 fee at Hamilton Wood Type. Parks and Rec in Manitowoc and Two Rivers are cooperating again this year on the City to City Candy Cane Hunt with sponsorship by Weichert Realtors of Two Rivers. And here's the poster for that event, which runs all day on Saturday, December 16th. So you can do that and then stop downtown for Cool City Christmas. And kudos to Rebecca Hansen and the folks at Two Rivers Parks and Rec for coordinating this with their cohorts in Manitowoc. Cool City Christmas, because true to two just doesn't lend itself as an adjective, I guess, Jeff. Cool City Christmas on Saturday, the 16th is a new event. And I'll throw out kudos there to my assistant, Lisa Keene, who's been the quarterback on this thing. Tootsie Summers over at Hamilton Wood Type, the folks at the Senior Center, Committee on Aging, Two Rivers Main Street. This is a brand new event. We hope it becomes an annual. People have really stepped up with sponsorships. I'll say it again, including $2,000 from Friends of the Senior Center to make sure that the cost of Santa and the reindeer and some of the other things are covered. There'll be ice skating on the rink. Yes, there'll be rentals. Holiday craft making with both Lowe's sponsoring a craft project down in the Beringer Room and the Two Rivers Rotary offering an ornament workshop for kids outside under a tent in the park. Get out downtown and shop and dine. There'll be opportunities for pictures with Santa and his elves and 2 live beautiful reindeer, as you see here on the stage at Central Park. They don't mind the cold. Reindeer live at the North Pole, as does Santa. Candy cane hunt that was mentioned. There's a vendor fair now, up to 55 vendors bursting at the seams in the community house. Concessions, I know FBLA is doing some concessions and a gift wrapping table. Music and carolers, hot chocolate out under the pavilion in Central Park. Again, kudos to all of those different groups. Free face painting. I mentioned the Lowe's workshop for kids. Ornament making by Rotary, Triad, which is a partnership with the police department and the local senior community, offering their bargain car wash cards for Quick Trip. And all of this comes together and will be going on from noon to 6 p.m. on Saturday, December 16. Let's hope this gets such a head of steam. I should mention too, over $1,500 in individual donations from downtown businesses, $1,000 grant from Community First Credit Union, along with $1,000 challenge grant from Community First. If matched, will be $2,000, $3,000 total. I'm sorry, $2,000 total from the credit union, and that we've identified as being pledged to some expanded programming down in Central Park, some things you'll be seeing next summer. So kudos to everybody who's rolled up their sleeves to make this. All we need now is a little cooperation from Mother Nature. We also have Breakfast with Santa coming up at the fire department, showing there the fire department's beautiful entry in the parade. That is on Sunday, December 17th. I hear everybody at the fire station is on the good boys and girls list. So Santa was happy to show up. Information shown there. I see Fox Communities Credit Union also is a sponsor. We have both our chief and our union president back here. So with them on our side, how could Santa be against us? Thank you to the IAFF local, get it right, guys, 324? 423. 423. Thank you, Travis, for their support of this event. And how did I do that? Also, Parks and Rec continues to be encouraging folks to give feedback on the Park and Open Space Plan survey. There's a Survey Monkey document out there. I think we're up around 300 responses, and Mike Mathis, our Parks and Rec director, who's at his kids' Christmas program at school tonight, will be at the Two Rivers basketball game tomorrow night promoting responses to the Park and Open Place survey. This is preparatory to updating our city's Park and Open Space Plan, which is a pretty important foundation document when we go for grant dollars or pursue capital funding. It'll soon be officially announced, but we do have word that the Wisconsin Parks and Recreation Association, WPRA, has awarded their 2023 Park Design Award for projects between $1 million and $3 million to the Central Park West project.
Wow,
Yeah.
kudos. That's
Yep.
that's pretty cool for the whole state of Wisconsin.
Some great recognition. So statewide, now people have recognized what we already know. This is one heck of a community project across the street here. So I don't know that it's official yet, but we heard from a very good source, and we'll share the press release when it comes out. Back over at Leicester Public Library, there is the Holiday Mystery Adventure coming up on Saturday, December 9th. That's this coming Saturday, 10 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. This time the Christmas cookies are missing, and do you have what it takes to find the culprit? There'll be different clues involved and activities centered around this search. This is geared for ages 5 to 12, but as noted, all ages are welcome. And just more holiday fun courtesy of our amazing staff. I'm not saying that for Jeff's benefit. He has an amazing staff under him. The amazing staff at Leicester Public Library. Upcoming meetings, we just remind you, the Public Works Committee on Thursday of this week, Plan Commission regular December meeting next Monday, December 11th, Library Board next Tuesday, the 12th, Advisory Rec Board next Wednesday, City Council next convenes 2 weeks from tonight. I anticipate on the next agenda, we would present an amendment to the development agreement with the Confluence LLC. Kip Golden from CR Structures, the development team there, was at the work session last week, gave some explanation for some of the delays encountered. I know we're all eager to see something happen over there, but we'll present an amendment to that development agreement. I think we'll also be ready with the development agreement for a new business out at the Woodland Industrial Park that we've been, I guess, kind of teasing along for a while. Council has been briefed on it in closed session. Those folks want to get a land closing done by the end of the year. So expect that as an action item at the next meeting in 2 weeks. And that's my report for tonight. Oh, I did want to mention a couple of things I left off. It was mentioned earlier, leaf pickup continues through this week. It's one rig kind of hopping around town. Your leaves better be out there if you want to be guaranteed they'll be picked up. I'd like to extend congratulations to Two Rivers resident Susan Crowley. Sue has been named the new executive director at Woodland Dunes Nature Center. A lot of folks here know Sue. She previously had worked for Wisconsin DNR, I believe in their forestry area. So a wonderful successor to our friend Jim Nickelbine, who over his years at Woodland Dunes has really built a great working relationship with this community and this city government. So we thank Jim and we wish Sue the very best. And by the next meeting, Spectrum Cable has promised us, they've promised things before, we'll see, that channel 993, the city public access channel on Spectrum Cable, should be back up and running. And I know all of you will be very happy to hear that. So will the people that pay good money to subscribe to Spectrum Cable, who are the people that have been going without it for way too long. So with that, that's my report for tonight.
Legislative intergovernmental update. Anything you want to add on that?
I only, Darla mentioned I'll call it the right to garden legislation that Andre and Shay, our state reps, support. There's also I'll call it a defend your right to have chickens legislation where they're proposing to protect chicken owners against maybe nasty local government types who would take a dim view of chickens. We already support urban chickens in Two Rivers, but our legislature is defending your right to have chickens up to 4.
So farm.
Yeah, so that's good. And Darla had shared today, if you saw the update from the league, there is a new bill proposed in the legislature that would require cities that are bordered by one or more urban towns. We aren't right now because urban towns are defined as 5,000 or more population that have their own police force, their own subdivision ordinance, a couple other things. But would require those cities, if they have the capacity, to provide water and sewer service to adjoining urban towns. And it would also put a moratorium or a prohibition on annexing those. Now, I don't think right now we have a town in Manitowoc County that's over 5,000. But as Councilmember Leclerc and I discussed briefly today, it's still bad policy. Because damn it all, cities and their ratepayers paid for that infrastructure. And generally, what's the one thing that causes people to say, oh, shoot, I don't want to be in the city and pay higher taxes, but I guess I will? It's when their well goes bad or their mound system fails. And if you want a recipe, and you can look to other states like Michigan, where they've had charter towns for years, for examples of how you do real harm to existing mature communities, this is a good example. So we may want to bring something up at a future meeting because, this week it's 5,000 or more makes you an urban town. Next year, it could be, let's reduce it to 2,500. So that's it for legislative update.
Anything on the testimony in Madison by Assistant Chief Wiesner?
I'm so sorry. Yes, I had that on the report. Chief, could you speak to that briefly? We saw last week, actually one of our department heads, Jeff Dawson, shared that watching Wisconsin Eye for some information on libraries legislation, he saw the testimony by Assistant Chief Wiesner. Chief.
Yeah, it was great to hear from Jeff specifically that he said, I think I quote him right when he said that it made him proud to live in Two Rivers, knowing that he had that kind of professionalism down in Madison. Prior to that, we had talked to Sortwell at one of the Coffee with a Cop, excuse me, about some upcoming legislation that I was concerned about. First being there's current legislation regarding more critical urgent care type facilities so that we don't have the amount of money spent on our police departments and our ambulance services down at AMC, for instance. And then another one of those was more of the mental health for police departments and police services. So as many of you know, maybe in more of a private type business, you may have EAPs that are available where there's more confidentiality issues that can take place, where in police services there haven't been. So what they've been pushing for is more legislation to allow for police to have those mental health services, the peer support, and the confidentiality that needs to go with those services. So she's been one of the front runners for that. As most of you know, she's one of the leaders in the state for both law enforcement death response and also peer support.
Thank you, Chief. Thanks. That was an omission out of the report tonight.
Who took the picture? Beautiful picture.
Yep.
The one that's on the screen right now.
That, I don't know. That was the night of the Christmas parade. Obviously, people that have brought their own skates. It's a great shot.
A note on the skates, the December 16th party, the skates will be free.
That's right.
Oh, nice. For the Cool City. Okay, very nice.
Yes.
So you can skate for free on December the 16th when you're enjoying the rest of the festivities in downtown and Park 365 along in the community house and
Should be a great
shopping
night.
downtown.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. On to number 10, the consent agenda. Under A, we have presentation of minutes. There are one. It is the City Council regular meeting of November 20th, 2023. Recommended action is a motion to read and adopt the minutes. Under B, minutes of meetings, there are two. We have an Environmental Advisory Board meeting of November 21st, 2023, and the Business Industrial Development Committee and Community Development Authority on November 21st, 2023. The recommended action is a motion to receive and file. And under C, applications and petitions, we have one. It is an application for a temporary Class B retailer's license from the Two Rivers Historical Society for Cool City Christmas, December 16th, 2023 at Washington House. Recommended action is a motion to approve the application and authorize the issuance of the license. The recommended action for the consent agenda as a whole is a motion to approve the consent agenda with the various actions recommended. Looking for that motion. Thank you, Bill. Seconded by Jeff. Council discussion? See none. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you very much. On to 11, City Council formal items. Look like they're all budget related. So under A, it's a resolution adopting general fund budget for fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024. The recommended action is a motion to waive and adopt the resolution as recommended by City Manager and the Personnel and Finance Committee. Greg, can you walk us through?
Commentary on it. Again, our general fund budget funds general government, I'll call it the city hall departments, things like city manager, finance, payroll, IT in part. Public safety, which is over half of our general fund budget, is police, fire, emergency medical services or ambulance, and inspections. Public works, the street department, if you will, comes out of the general fund. Health and human services is the senior center and cemetery. Culture, rec, and education is parks, rec, community house. Other financing uses are things like the budgeted contingency transfer from the general fund to the retiree insurance fund to fund our existing but slowly shrinking commitment to post-retirement health for retirees. The overall general fund budget is over 85% personnel costs. And this year the budget as proposed is up 7.13% from 2023. Major drivers in that increase are employee wages, 3% increases for our non-union employees, and the slightly higher negotiated increases for police and fire union employees. We also are seeing this year a 15% increase in employee in health insurance premiums. Employees pay 15%, city pays 85%, both sides of that equation up by 15%, consistent with the premium increase. We also saw seeing a small increase in the employer share for Wisconsin retirement. So that's the story. And I'll say again on the revenue side, because there is no property tax increase proposed in support of the general fund budget. On the revenue side, thank God our state legislature and governor saw fit to address shared revenues, which have only been reduced over the last 25 to 30 years. Two Rivers is seeing about an $840,000 increase. That made the difference between a budget review that was rigorous, even with that money, but we would have really hit the wall this year in terms of our ability to provide services, and frankly, would not have been able to fund what we're used to doing in this city without going to the voters to, if council were so inclined, to suspend our levy caps. It was that serious. So with that note, I know there has been some discussion, and while Personnel and Finance recommends the overall budget for approval, there was a majority of the Personnel and Finance Committee that did not want to see the new GIS coordinator position actually funded out of the utilities. So I'll leave that to council. The budget as presented is what's shown in this resolution. If there are remaining concerns in that area that council wishes to further address, my recommendation would be to approve the budget as presented, but with specific direction that staff is not to move forward with advertising or filling the GIS position or the other new full-time position of Public Works maintenance worker, which could tie into how ultimately GIS is funded, pending further direction from council. So again, the resolution in front of you is simply a clean adoption. Knowing of those concerns, if council wishes to defer on the GIS, and again, I would put the maintenance worker position in there because it's funded from some of the same sources. That put them, again, I'd recommend put the money in the budget, but and the two new positions pending further council action.
I think that is the best way to go about this budget. Talking to Greg earlier today on a phone call. It's probably best that the money in there, obviously, so we don't have to do a budget amendment later on should things work out. But it has to be authorized by council before we put up for bid, or I guess open up the application process for either one of those before we agree on a funding source as to how we're going to do it. Because obviously up here we have some disagreement right now as to how we can fund it, where we can fund it, options for outsourcing it, such as maybe a firm. Haven't come back before us with if that's something we can do and what those kind of costs could possibly be. So I would recommend it as well, going about it that way. Again, versus having to come back and do a budget amendment later if we exit or if we sit up here and just disagree on it. So, Scott.
I will make the motion to approve it as is, with the understanding that the GIS position and the maintenance position will not be filled unless council direction.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'll second.
Second by Tracy. Council discussion.
What did you say about GI? I couldn't quite.
That we would approve the budget as is, but we would not fill the GIS position or the maintenance position without direction from the council. So it'll be budgeted for it, but they
They
can't
may not-
fill it until
Okay.
we give the okay.
And then I know also we have flat work in there for across the street too, do we not? Wasn't that part of the,
I'd suggested that
Works.
that additional sidewalk could be funded out of the Public Works flat work budget. If council doesn't object, it's not on a street, but it's
Right.
public, it's sidewalk used by the public.
yep. Okay, any other council discussion?
That's capital, just to clarify.
Right,
not
I
in the
think we
general
talked
fund
about
budget.
it in, as approving the public works when we were in personnel and finance. That's the reason I bring it up now.
Okay.
Any further discussion? See none, roll call vote. Amanda?
Jeff Delkey,
Aye.
Tracy Coach,
Aye.
Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Tim Peter, Bonnie Shimalunas,
Aye.
Scott Steckmeister,
Aye.
Adam Mahusky.
All right, motion carries. Thank you very much. A lot of hard work went into that. Under B, resolution adopting budgets for other funds such as capital project funds, special revenue funds, and utility funds for fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024. The recommended action, motion to waive reading and adopt the resolution as recommended by the city manager and the Personnel and Finance Committee. Greg?
If you will, this is as close as we come to an omnibus budget resolution at the local level. This resolution takes into account the capital projects funds as reviewed, as presented by the city manager, reviewed by the Personnel and Finance Committee, the various special revenue funds as identified there, including our various tax incremental financing or TIF districts, other special revenue funds as listed there, senior center, tourism funds, Act 102 money, which is from the state to help with our paramedic service, business industrial and industrial loan fund or development fund, community development fund. This resolution also shows total expenditures for each of the city enterprise funds or utility funds that are funded primarily from user fees. That includes the solid waste utility, recycling, trash pickup, recycling, leaf pickup, the water utility, electric utility. That's a big number, as all of you know. Most of that is throughput. It's purchase power, which is then resold. It's about almost 8 million out of 9.5. Telecommunications utility, which doesn't show up on anybody's bills at home. That's the fiber optic cable network the city has around town. We have a couple of private parties that lease dark fiber, and we also, as a city, use it between some of our facilities. The stormwater utility, which is $5.75 on most people's utility bills in support of stormwater compliance and reinvestment in our stormwater capital. And then the sewer utility, which is sanitary sewer. If you will, just a few highlights on that. Capital projects budgets include funding for a major reconstruct project on Roosevelt Avenue this year, $300,000 for the second installment on new Public Works dump trucks, where the purchase was authorized last year. Another $120,000 for improvements at Neshota Park, furthering the park master plan. I'm kind of going randomly here. $50,000 for an irrigation system in Central Park West, and that does appear now in the 415 Central Park Renovation Fund. The resolution you have in front of you has that corrected. It came out of Parks capital and went into Central Park renovation. That was discussed at the work session last week. We got some big stuff going on in the TIF districts if all goes well. If you look at my narrative on the right there, council approved in early November the final development agreement for the West River Lofts project. We anticipate groundbreaking later this month. If that's all going ahead, there's $400,000 that needs to be addressed and is provided for in the budget for shoreline and walkway work on the west side of the West Twin River at that development site. If the confluence development goes through timely over on the East Twin, $900,000 needs to be borrowed there for a developer grant. We've got $200,000 for infrastructure work out at the Woodland Industrial Park, where we're going to have need to extend Browns Drive, the street south of 310, a little further along with the utilities. And $450,000 is in the budget to be borrowed but repaid from TID number 12, the Cobblestone Hotel TID, so-called, for Washington Street Bridge pedestrian improvements. And we hope to be moving ahead with phase 3 of the Sandy Bay subdivision, and we've identified the possibility of $650,000 in borrowing there to be repaid from lot sales. I would note that the Personnel and Finance Committee, as well as the Utilities Committee, both recommended approval of the utility budgets. Personnel and Finance recommends approval of the other budgets as listed, and I concur on that. The only exceptions here, again, it would probably be prudent to add the same condition about not authorizing moving forward with the GIS and Public Works new positions until council gives specific authorization, because those are funded in part out of these funds. And I know there was a 2-to-1 vote out of Personnel and Finance on the proposed replacement of 2 police department squads. This is the year in the rotation when, per the department's not only past practice but current experience, 2 squads ought to be replaced. Public Works wanted to look further at that, and I know Councilmember Dahlke, who chairs Personnel and Finance, had a question about possibly replacing powertrains basically in the squads to extend their life. Chief Miners has done some preliminary homework on that. If the council really wants to hash through that, you can do it tonight. We got a lot of night left, or you could do it in January. Quite honestly, from a staff standpoint, we feel it's necessary to replace 2 squad cars, but out of respect to the Personnel and Finance Committee, there was a 2-1 vote there with respect to that one item. And just to emphasize, that's pretty small in the scheme of things. By and large, there was consensus on the budget as presented, but those would be, I'd recommend, given the action on the general fund budget, that you approve this resolution with the caveat or condition about the 2 new positions, GIS, Public Works. If it so pleases the council, you can provide further direction on the replacement of 2 squad cars. They are currently budgeted for, again, at a minimum. I'd recommend leaving the funds in there. Help me out, Chief. Was that 60,000 a piece or 50,000? 60, so 120,000 total. But I do want to point out that issue where there is a difference in the position that's been taken by Personnel and Finance. Over and out, ready to answer any questions you might have.
All right. Looking for a motion similar. Again, a phone conversation today yielded the same thing and recommend on keeping the cars in the budget with further looking into powertrain to see if we can do something a little bit cheaper like some other communities have done to eliminate some of that borrowing. And again, obviously the GIS position that would be coming out of here would make sense to follow that with A that we just passed. So looking for a motion, however you wish, that would be the way we would recommend it, but it's not up to me. So looking for a motion on this.
I will make the same motion I did before, adjusting the budget as is, holding off on the GIS position, the maintenance position, and the 2 squad cars.
Okay, but keeping them in the budget, just
Keeping them
waiting
in the
for
budget,
authorization
and
on
we would have to, city council would have to authorize
those
those funds
Okay,
at the time.
thank you, Scott. Seconded by
I'll
Jeff.
second.
Oh, sorry. I saw his hand. Jeff, sorry, Scott, then Jeff. I'll look at you next. Any council discussion? See none, roll call vote, Amanda.
Tracy Coach,
Aye.
Bill Leclerc. Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Tim Petrie. Bonnie Shimalunas. Zach Messer,
Aye.
Adam Mahusky,
Aye.
Jeff Gelke.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. That passed. On to C. So resolution adopting debt service fund budget for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024. Recommended action is a motion to waive reading and adopt the resolution as recommended by the city manager and the Personnel and Finance Committee. Greg.
Debt service is really the one major remaining city fund that we have not addressed. It's one of three property tax supported funds. You know, when you get your tax bill at home, it just says City of Two Rivers. But council tonight will be asked, I think on the next resolution, in fact, to approve the levy in support of the general fund, unchanged. The levy in support of debt service, which is proposed to increase, and I'll speak to that briefly, and the levy in support of the Leicester Public Library, where there's also a small increase proposed. Debt service fund is responsible for paying the annual principal and interest payments on what is called general obligation debt. That's borrowing where the city has pledged its full faith and credit, generally to repay that debt through property taxes. Unlike general fund operations where we have levy caps given to us at the wisdom of the legislature that kind of says you guys can't be trusted to make decisions on your own. Sorry, I had to throw that in there. For debt service, it's entirely at local discretion. The city, I think, has been pretty prudent through the years investing in our capital infrastructure. This budget kind of looks in the rearview mirror because it reflects principal and interest cost on borrowing that's already been incurred prior to 2024 for capital projects. Overall, the debt service budget is going up by about $180,000 from 2.8 million to 2.98 million. That's a 6.5% increase. Happily, not all of it needs to come out of the general property tax because there also is some debt that is supported with transfers in, for the most part, from our various tax incremental districts. So if there's GO debt issued, things like the borrowing for the grant that helped with building the Cobblestone Hotel, that was GO debt, but it's being repaid with revenue from that TIF district. We have others like that. So bottom line, the increase in the debt service tax levy is up by about 71,000 or 2.82%. And like all the budget, I'd say, especially on this one though, kudos to Dave Buss, who keeps things straight on our debt and our debt service and provides personnel and finance at budget time with not just current year numbers, but projections on where we've been and where we're going. So if
Good
you got
job,
any
Dave.
problems with it, that means talk to Dave. I just
pretty much.
I just blew some warm air his way.
Pass the buck.
Yeah.
All right, looking for a motion on this as presented. I'll take that from Bill because I heard him first, although I was staring at Tracy. Seconded by Tracy. Any council discussion? See none, roll call vote. Amanda.
Bill Leclerc. Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Tim Petrie. Bonnie Shimalunas,
Aye.
Scott Steckmeister,
Aye.
Adam Mahusky,
Aye.
Jeff Gelke.
No.
Tracy Coach.
Aye.
All right, motion carries on that. Thank you again. A lot of hard work put into that. On to D, resolution adopting tax levy for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024. Recommended action is a motion to waive reading and adopt the resolution as recommended by the city manager and the Personnel and Finance Committee. Greg.
Okay, the resolution is on your left there. As I mentioned, the three levies and associated rates that the city council controls are the first three, the levies in support of the general fund, the debt service fund, and the library. Also for information here, we show the levies for the Two Rivers Public School District, Manitowoc School District, because we have a handful of properties within the city limits that are in the Manitowoc School District, mostly out on Woodland Drive north of the hospital. And then the levy for LTC and for Manitowoc County. A little analysis that was shared by the finance director with council last week during the budget hearing is showing the increases associated, or decreases, I guess they're all increases, associated with the various entities. So, you know, the Two Rivers School District proposed levy increase, or adopted levy increase, I'm sorry, they've already adopted it, 18.77%. I do have a few slides on that our district administrator, Diane Johnson, and business manager, Mary Kay Slattery, shared today that I promised I'd share with council and the community. Our city of Two Rivers total levy, that again, that's general fund, debt service, and library, proposed to increase by 2.41%, or the rate by 2.41%. Manitowoc County, as adopted, up 2.31%. LTC, which is a pretty small part of the levy anymore because the state has increased its funding for technical colleges to help provide property tax relief, up 3.25%. And there no longer is a state of Wisconsin line item, the state forestry tax, in support of forestry programs, both urban forestry and the forest industry used to be on the tax bill. What gets a little tricky to explain is, those are the various increases in levies and rates, but then there is a school tax credit that gets applied. And then there are the so-called below the line credits for first dollar credit and lottery credit. So while overall the various levies might be up by about 7%, happily the credit attributable to the first dollar credit is up, and the credit attributable to the lottery, so keep buying those mega bucks and scratch offs, I guess, is up by about $43 on a $100,000 house. So the net lift we project at 5.72% grand total on the property tax bill. I would highlight again, there's an increase in the levy for debt service of about, what was it on the last slide, 75,000 or so. There is a proposed increase in tax support for the library of just over $50,000, about 8%. I know you've heard from a lot of constituents on that one. And also there was a nice presentation from library staff. If council wants to vote on this first, if there aren't any objections, then I'll segue over to the slides the school district provided regarding their levy.
Yeah, we don't really need the slides to vote on this because the school district votes on their own. It's just more or less to show. So we can look for a motion on this as presented.
We'll make a motion.
Tracy makes that motion, seconded by
presented.
Darla. All right, council discussion. See none, another roll call vote. Amanda.
Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Tim Petrie, Bonnie Shimalunas,
Aye.
Scott Steckmeister,
Aye.
Adam Mahusky,
Aye.
Jeff Delkey,
No.
Tracy Coach,
Aye.
Bill Leclerc.
All right, motion carries, and if you want to go through
And
those
and actually, I'm
slides.
thinking, Adam, maybe we just go to the last resolution
Okay.
on budget first. The last one in your packet doesn't affect people citywide. It is the resolution approving the district levy and assessment rate for 2024 for the Downtown Area Business Improvement District. Basically, the Downtown Area Bid District, I should have had a map on a slide, but most of you know it's pretty much shaped like a big T, a big fat T. The Lighthouse Inn is the southernmost property. The district runs up Washington, Jefferson, and Washington, Jefferson, and Monroe streets, picking up any business properties there, solely residential. Properties that are solely residential are exempted. And then it extends to include commercial properties along 22nd Street from Pick and Save on the east to the Pig on the west. There is a business improvement district board, 7 members, made up of all people that own businesses or real property in the district. They met this fall, as they do each year, reviewed the recommended Main Street budget and the requested business improvement district assessment. They recommend, I read the wrong line there. They recommend, again, this year levying at a rate of $2 per thousand on the properties within the bid district, which would generate an estimated $5,000 in support of the 2024 Main Street budget.
Is unchanged from last year.
Unchanged from last year. For a long time, it was $1.42.5 per thousand. Last year, on recommendation of Main Street and the bid board, it went up to $2. frankly, it cannot, under the adopted plan, go higher than $2 per thousand.
Looking for a motion to approve this.
I will make a motion to approve this.
All right, motion by Tracy, seconded by
I will second it.
Scott. Council discussion. See none, roll call vote. Amanda. Oh, did you have one, Bonnie?
Well, I just wish this program would change a little bit. This handful of people taking care of it, and I'd like to see the budget, the whole thing. What is that whole amount that they're taking in, and what is it being spent on? Because I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
The whole amount that this bid district brings in taxes.
About, again, within $1,000 or so, it's 50,000.
No,
per
no,
year.
no. I mean, how much do they collect? Who determines to spend it? This bid district? I mean, I see that stuff is a little bit fuzzy.
sure.
for me.
The way the Business Improvement District plan was written, it was to be in support of the Main Street organization's budget. So it's going, as you probably have had pointed out to you by some residents, to a 501c, I believe 3, not-for-profit organization whose mission is to promote the financial and economic health and good design in the downtown. So this explicitly, the bid district was put in place in 1996 or 7, I forget, explicitly to help support the Main Street budget. So the Main Street Board, which includes Councilmember Leclerc and myself, out of 13 members, adopts a proposed annual budget. I don't remember exact numbers, but the budget as presented for next year is a little over $150,000. It identifies how much of that is coming from the bid district. And again, that's about 50, or about a third of the total budget. Then Main Street does not have the authority to just set that levy and collect it, because it's a special assessment, essentially a tax that the city levies. But it does first have to go through a Business Improvement District board or bid board. And those people are all property or business owners in the downtown, so folks that pay the tax. You know, there is additional detail available, certainly. The bid board was presented with a copy of the Main Street operating budget for next year. I'm sorry, I don't know if that was attached to the minutes or not that came from the bid board, but that's the basic mechanics of it.
Bid board pretty much sets the rate
No.
to give to us. Main Street pretty much spends it.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't know if you had any further question on it.
No, I've never been okay with this, so.
Okay. What's that? There is not. She just asked the question. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we did. We had Tracy and Scott. Sorry. Yes. There is a motion on this.
Stuff that was in the wind from last year.
As far as,
Well, getting all the, property owners, the information and stuff.
About all I can say, and that's a good point, Peach, the Main Street director, and you probably receive it, is now providing weekly email updates to all of the property owners in the district. Does council, do all of you get those?
I do receive it.
Okay. So that, I know that he and the program have gotten high marks for that. There was some question about extending like the flower planters and things, not just up and down Washington's, but getting them over to Forest Avenue and over to Lincoln at the other end. That was done this year with some ground planters, not the baskets up in the air. I don't know that it satisfied all of the issues that were raised last year. I wouldn't guarantee that, but I do think Main Street has worked to be responsive to that.
Yeah.
Weren't they gonna go year by year if they were gonna keep that increase?
They do. They just went through and they approved to keep it at what it was. That was something we discussed, is if it was going to stay here, if it was going to go down, and they were going to reanalyze as they do every year before they set the rate. And it looks like again, this is not something that council decides. It's something that just comes for us for approval. It's not like it's a personal and finance issue. And it looks like they chose to keep it at the $2 once again.
No surprise, like anything else, nothing goes down.
And that's,
Let's-
and that's a vote all by people who pay that assessment. I can't emphasize that enough. Wasn't any pointy-headed bureaucrats in city government. It's honest to God people that have business interests in the downtown. And not much goes down. I haven't noticed that on any of my bills at home or the grocery store, except gas is down.
No, and I mean, me personally, I didn't hear from anyone this year in this district that was strongly opposed to it. That doesn't mean they're not out there. But again, they do set their own levy as for how much they want to get charged. Do I always like it? I will say I don't. But again, they're taxing themselves essentially. So if I don't hear a overwhelming outcry to stop, I don't see why I would stop it. Darla.
I just wanted to say that basically Main Street or the bid district was requested by business owners. And I don't remember how many years ago this started with the,
1996.
okay. So it started off
Yep.
with business owners who wanted to have a Main Street. It continues to be supported by businesses who are in that district. And in fact, there's several businesses from outside the bid district who would like to become affiliate members. So it's very popular. You get an awful lot out of Main Street. It's not just all events and festivals, even though, Main Street is in charge of a good 75–80% of what goes on downtown. Not only do we spearhead that, but then also there is education opportunities that we give to the business owners. We have lunch and learns. We help fill dark storefronts. We are also a visitor center. We are definitely promoting downtown and hoping to be a little bit more not aggressive, but a little bit more proactive on the affiliate program. So there's nothing but good that's come out of Main Street. And you got to remember too, that our budget is very small. Most of the work that you see done out there, it is volunteer. And we have a lot of people from the community who are either serving on the board or they're serving on a committee. And we have more people interested in helping out than we have positions. It's very popular, and Main Street does a heck of a lot for this city.
And I would just point out again, I just wanted to double check the minutes, but we had 5 of the 7 bid board members present. You got to meet all of them a year ago when we did a special meeting solely on this topic. And I think you heard loud and clear that they take their downtown seriously. So the folks that were at that meeting and voted to recommend this are Tom Christensen, who owns Sovi's gas station, pretty major downtown business. Bill Keel, because yes, Karen Nett Company's original plant over here is in the district. Probably not and as he's articulated, I should speak for him, that isn't about Karen Nett's business, but it's about community and when it comes to attracting and retaining employees. It's important. Amy Macmillan from First Anderson Real Estate, which owns a building and has their business on Main Street. Teresa Kronforst from Schrader's Department Store, truly our downtown anchor. And Marv Moore from the medicine shop. So these are all people with skin in the game. And the folks that weren't there, Joanne Kuba and Jim Van Lannen Jr., I know they supported the increase last year. And I dare say if they'd have been there, I bet you anything they'd have supported this year. So it's not something that's just imposed on people and a negative. It's something that business owners petition for. There's been ongoing support for, and there's a lot of opportunities to get involved if businesses choose to.
And I got no problem going along with it. Hopefully they continue. And I think my vote would go with that. If they continue to increase their flowers as they do, to make sure it's all incumbent of everybody within that district, even if it's borderline from Lincoln to Forest and all the way straight down, to make sure they're getting included kind of like they did last year, and then to continue on that. And then obviously to make sure that the communication, which I think has been good. I don't know if everyone gets the email. I can't speak for that, but I can speak to the fact that I know I get it. I see it. If you're not getting it and you're in the district, you should reach out to the Main Street office to make sure you're getting all that information and to see what workshops and everything else that's happening downtown on a weekly basis. And I mean, if they keep that up, I think they're kind of doing their job and what they're there to do, so to speak.
I'm gonna
Bonnie.
just have one more comment. I think everybody in the bid district should have been getting a letter or something to let them know what is going on, because I know that didn't happen to everybody. And everybody who's paying into this bid district should be able to have advantages the same as downtown. Because you did go outside of Main Street to build this and to include everybody. I will vote yes for it, but I don't know. I really don't think it's that the bid district itself, it seems like a closed thing, and I don't really understand what's going on with that. The bid district, the people who run BID, that's the thing that I'm not clear on.
Well, again, if council has any more questions, ultimately it's your authority to levy this assessment. And that's been the case since 1997, I think was the first year the levy was in effect. So certainly, you know, an informational presentation can be made. But
Bonnie, I agree with you. I mean, I think it's gotten a lot better. I hope it stays that way and only gets better to make sure that we are including everyone that's within that district, even if you're not just sitting here on Washington Street. I think they should all be included, and if it's flowers or signage, whatever it may be. I know the flowers were a big thing, and also the communication has to be going out to everyone. I think that's very, very important. If you're paying into a system, that you should be getting everything out of it. 100% agree.
have any of you heard anything in the past 12 months
No.
about the downtown bid levy?
I have not.
I mean, I don't need to know names, but.
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't. I did last year, lots of it, but not, I didn't hear much this year.
Not this year.
I just wanted to say too, that if a business or a building and, is in the bid district, everyone who is paying into the bid is getting equal opportunities, and it's not just on Washington Street. I forgot to mention before that one of the biggest contributions that we do is for our sign and facade grant, which is just getting better and stronger, but it helps with our businesses who want to improve the outside, of their businesses. And I don't know of a time where we've discriminated against anybody in the bid district just because they weren't on Washington Street. So, if that's an issue, please let me know. But I haven't heard any rumblings about that.
Okay, any further comments? See none, roll call vote. Amanda?
Tim Petrie. Connie Shimalunas.
Aye.
Pat Stigmesser.
Aye.
Adam Mahusky.
Aye.
Jeff Delkey.
No.
Tracy Coach.
Aye.
Bill Leclerc.
Aye.
Darla Leclerc.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. That motion does carry 5-2, correct? 6-2. All right, my bad. 6-2. All right, 12 for information only. Greg, do you have that handy?
Yes, I'll include this again, our school district administrator and business
Oh, that's right.
manager.
Yeah.
I'll include this in information only, I guess. Had supplied some information on the tax levy in support of the 2023 to 2024 school district budget. That's the levy and the rate that will appear on tax bills that go out in a week or so. This was from the October 23rd school board meeting. It's noted that among school districts in Wisconsin, the Two Rivers District is what is defined as a low spending school district, spending below, in the neighborhood actually of $10,000 per pupil. The most recently approved state budget increased the definition for low spending districts to $11,000 per pupil. And as from what I understand there, that means that between local levy, if you levy right up to the cap, because there is a cap on school district levy as well, between that local generated levy money and state aid, the state will be stepping up funding support to $11,000 per pupil. And that's about $1.6 million more coming into the district. Not next year, but in 2025. So it was also pointed out that so the district is doing an increase. it's not really correct to say that the increase, as shown, is all for the referendum that was recently approved. The district is also seeing a reduction next year. It's going to get worse before it gets better, as I understand it, in their state aid by about $177,000. They're seeing the end of a program for aid to high poverty districts. That was eliminated, so that had to be offset with a tax increase. It's noted, again, with school vouchers out there, making funding available for families who choose to send their children to private school or parochial school. That gets paid out of the district's allotment and is approaching $700,000 a year now for vouchers. So as the district puts in, again, this is their presentation, this created a perfect storm for their tax levy for the coming year, for the tax bills that go out this year. And they wanted to ask that we emphasize it's not the 2022 referendum that's causing this challenge. I got to admit, I think I'm a fairly well-informed resident. I attributed it all to the referendum just last week. They did furnish a history of tax levy with a 10-year trend line, kind of taking the average. That's the yellow line there. You'll see that even with a fairly marked increase in the tax levy for next year, from, say, in the neighborhood of almost 5.2 million to 6.1 million, if my math is right there. That's higher than in recent years. It's bringing the school district's levy to just above where it was for the 2012-13 year, just north of $6 million. They likewise in the next graph supplied what their mill rate history has been with the 10-year trend line. Property values, because again, school districts and other multi-jurisdiction taxing entities generally think in terms of equalized value, or we talk mostly assessed value for our local budget. So they have seen significant increases in equalized value. This is some narrative. I'm not going to go into all the detail on vouchers, but basically for next year, the legislature, in addition to providing a decent amount of additional funding for public schools, did significantly increase the assistance available for alternative schools, whether it's parochial or charter schools, to the amounts indicated, almost $10,000 for grades K through 8, $12,387 for students in grades 9 through 12. And actually that will increase further next year to just over $10,000 for kids in the elementaries and $12,731 for grades 9 through 12. I'm not making a political statement on vouchers, but to the extent we are now in Wisconsin funding private education, it is coming out of monies that would otherwise be available for public education. And for our district, that's now approaching $700,000. Some history there on the amount of the levy that is attributable to vouchers, and then the district's recommended levy. They are anticipating, this takes a minute. They are anticipating when the total state aid kicks in that they anticipate that there'll be some tax relief afforded. But the principal and interest attributable to the referendum, to the bonds that were issued for school improvements, are $2.76 million per year for the next 20 years. Diane Johnson pointed out that's just a tad lower than what was presented in their informational campaign to the community, slightly lower debt service cost. So that was a message I agreed to share. Again, I don't have any say over the district levy, nor does council, but a big driver in the lift that you see in the school district levy does pertain to how state funding impacts the local budget. So yes, you're seeing funding for the levy, to pay off the capital this year, debt service, but also a lift to make sure that the district maximizes the benefit that will flow a year from now from the state with the enhancements to school funding. That's my best understanding. But still, when you look around us, including to the south in Manitowoc, where the voters have approved exceeding the levy caps, not just for capital, but for operations, our district is still termed a low spending district. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you. Other things.
That's great information. I guess the one big thing that I see in that slideshow that's kind of missing is how many kids are attending these schools and has that dropped? Because they show the vouchers going way up, which tells me enrollment must be down, but that number is not really shown in there.
There's two factors, really, vouchers and school choice, where people opt for,
Right.
and we see opt-ins and opt-outs.
Right, so it'd be
I'm-
interesting to see what the enrollment is compared to those numbers.
Yeah, I'll follow up with that question because I think the district's very interested in being transparent on these things. With that, the only other things for information only would be see you in 2 weeks for a regular meeting. We have the various board and committee meetings upcoming. I may reach out to Personnel and Finance for a December meeting to sort of assess where we are as we head into the tail end of the year, look at some possible issues for the coming year. We're working on some amendments right now to our personnel policy manual. And of course, having Baird come in probably in January and talk first to Personnel and Finance, then present at City Council on our proposed borrowing for capital projects for next year. So Personnel and Finance, which put a lot of work, as did our staff, and kudos to staff on this, put a lot of work into the 2024 budget. Your work ain't done yet. So we'll look forward to meeting. I would ask that the council not go into closed session. I had reached out last week with a question to the PSC about this matter on water and sewer service. A little belatedly, admittedly, it was Thursday last week, but have not heard back yet from them. So if we have that information, it'll be on your next agenda.
And that's very important information for us in order to go into closed session. Doesn't really make sense to talk about
Right.
nothing.
That's really the basis for continuing the discussion on that topic.
Very good. Thank you for that. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Jeff. Second by Tim. Council discussion. Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you and good night.